Hi, it's Jordan, and my book is Grandfather's Journey by Alan Say. And I picked this book because I thought it was a good example of a story of an immigrant. He was from Japan and he came to travel North America, and it talked about the different people and culture and environments he saw. And in this particular situation, he grew to love America and enjoyed all the scenes and people he met, but it also talked about how he loved his home country and he longed to go back. And this is just one situation that I think describes an immigrant. I mean, they're as a child or other immigrants that they could be scared and anxious and hesitant to be moving to a new country, but this is just one good example, I think, so I will read you my story. Grandfather's Journey by Alan Say. My grandfather was a young man when he left his home in Japan and went to see the world. He wore European clothes for the first time and began his journey on a steamship. The Pacific Ocean astonished him. For 3 weeks he did not see land. When the land finally appeared, it was the New World. He explored North America by train and riverboat and often walked for days on end. Deserts with rocks like enormous sculptures amazed him. The endless farm fields reminded him of the ocean he had once crossed. Huge cities of factories and tall buildings bewildered and yet excited him. He marveled at the towering mountains and rivers as clear as the sky. He met many people along the way. He shook hands with black men and white men, with yellow men and red men. The more he traveled, the more he longed to see new places and never thought of returning home. Of all the places he visited, he loved California the best. He loved the strong sunlight there, the Sierra Mountains, and lonely coast. After a time, he returned to his village in Japan to marry his childhood sweetheart, when he brought his bride to the new country. They made their home by the San Francisco Bay and had a baby girl. His daughter grew. My grandfather began to think about his own childhood and thought about his old friends. He remembered the mountains and rivers of his home. He surrounded himself with songbirds, but he could not forget. Finally, when his daughter was nearly grown, he could wait no more. He took his family and returned to his homeland. Once again, he saw the mountains and rivers of his childhood. They were just as he had remembered them. Once again, he exchanged stories and laughed with his old friends. But the village was no place for a daughter from San Francisco. So my grandfather bought a house in a large city nearby. There, the young woman fell in love, married, and sometime later, I was born. When I was a small boy, my favorite weekend was a visit to my grandfather's house. He told me many stories about California. He raised warblers and silver eyes, but he could not forget the mountains and rivers of California. So he planned a trip. But a war began. Bombs fell from the sky and scattered our lives like leaves in a storm. When the war ended, there was nothing left of the city and in the house where my grandfather had lived. So they returned to the village where they had been children, but my grandfather never kept another songbird. The last time I saw him, my grandfather said that he longed to see California one more time. He never did. And when I was nearly grown, I left home and went to see California myself. After a time, I came to love the land my grandfather had left, and I stayed on and on until I had a daughter of my own. But I also miss the mountains and rivers of my childhood. I miss my old friends, so I return home now and then when I can not still the longing in my heart. The funny thing is, the moment I am in one country, I am homesick for the other. I think I know my grandfather now. I miss him very much. So my discussion question would be first for our class as educators. If you had a student from a different country, how would you make them feel safe and welcome in our class and in our country? And my second question would be for students in my future classroom. Imagine yourself going to a different country where they have different culture, different language, and a new place that you've never been and you don't know anyone. How would you feel? So this is just one example of a diverse story, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.